And you might think you've got your strengths and weaknesses nailed down, but the truth is there's always more to uncover. There's abilities and traits that come to light through missions and unlocking new levels of Earth. So the true goal is to know your character really deeply. So the biggest mistake that players on Earth make is assuming that they know their character just because they've been playing it for a while. But if you really want to thrive, you've got to go deeper. Most people never reach this level of insight. They're too caught up in reacting to the game's weird randomness instead of taking the time to learn who their character is. The game developers didn't give you the answers up front, and they won't make it easy for you to find. But once you do, Earth upgrades from just a survival game into this badass quest of self-mastery with brand new level unlocks and a lot more coins after the upgrade. And then we have glitches. Here's one of the biggest things that nobody tells you when you start playing Earth. Your character is probably running way too many programs at one time. If you imagine having 50 tabs open on your browser all the time. So the game developers turned off the open programs alert by default. So most players don't even realize that it's happening. And these programs keep running in the background. They cause your character to lag, and they reduce our critical abilities, our focus, and our overall performance just goes way down. In Earth, these background programs could be anything from unresolved tasks, emotional baggage that your character tries to hold on to, distractions, or habits that just don't level up your character at all. And then we get into entropy. This is the silent killer. If you don't keep revisiting your systems, how you're earning in-game points and coins, and what you're focusing on and how you're playing, you're going to start trending toward entropy. And this is true for all video games. And entropy is the slow drift into chaos and disorder that stops your character from focusing on what really matters. So to beat entropy, you've got to study Earth. You have to study the mechanics of this game, its rules, its hidden systems. And the more you understand how the game really works, the better you can control your character's progress. But let's be very real here. Most players will not put in the time, which makes leveling up fairly easy compared to most games. And the good news for you is you don't have to do it alone. You can hire someone to hack your account for you, like a coach. Coaches have studied the game. They know the shortcuts and the hacks to get you back on track faster than if you try to just figure out the whole game by yourself. And another way to reset your character and close some of those open programs is by using certain glitches in the game. One of the most effective glitches might be psychedelics. And if your character is in a location where psychedelics are legal, you can find them in the in-game shop and trade some coins for them. The more programs you close and the better you manage entropy, the more you can level up, earn more coins, and do stuff that is fun. In Earth, there are 5
Now Taxes is getting the TurboTax app and filing your taxes yourself 100% free if you
key mechanics that no amount of AI or any kind of automation can really take over. And these are the pillars of real success on Earth, and every character has to master them. So number one is connections and love. Building relationships with other characters is one of the most powerful mechanics in the game, and they're going to really pay off for you in the long run. The second one is production. So meaningful work is a core mechanic in the Earth game. And this isn't just about grinding for coins, it's about developing purpose. So what you produce, whether it's physical or intellectual or creative, gives your character a reason to keep playing the game. It's super important. Then we have number 3, which is mindset. How your character thinks is everything in this game. Your internal game is just as important as the external, and there's no AI that can replace your ability to grow and adapt mentally. So choose good missions and good quests to take your character on. And number 4 is your overall character health. Monitoring your character's health is super important for taking the game's quests on and challenges. And this isn't just about physical health, it's about keeping your character in the best shape mentally and emotionally and physically. They have a lot of crap that you have to monitor, but it's totally worth it. And a healthy character performs way better, making it easier to get success and earn coins in the game. But it does get tricky. The game is filled with instant pleasures that look like you're leveling up, but it gives you a placebo. And these are things that give your character a quick boost, but there's no long-term benefit. Enjoyment, on the other hand, comes from achieving meaningful goals and staying aligned with your purpose. So the final goal of the developers is to get you to understand the game. Like, what is the purpose of the game? And this is the meta mechanic of the game. So studying the game itself, the more you understand the rules, the mechanics, and how they interact, the better you're going to play this game. And you can't outsource this to AI. And it's the difference between just surviving in Earth and truly thriving and leveling up your character like crazy. In Earth, the real secret to enjoying the gameplay is designing your own quests. And of course, the developers have pre-built missions and quests that you can go on, and they're almost limitless challenges that keep you busy. But if you want to play like a pro, you need to take full control. The players that are famous for getting the most points in this game don't actually wait for the game to give them tasks. They make their own, and they shape how their character's story unfolds themselves. So Steven Kotler, who's one of the characters in the game map right now, he wrote a tutorial called The Art of Impossible. He lays out a framework that's perfect for creating your own quests here on Earth. And you can think of these like custom missions that you get to choose rather than letting the game pick for you. So number one is curiosity. In Earth, it drives your character toward exploration and new levels. And the more you follow curiosity, the more you...
Hey, what's hell? Welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I am your host, Dan F. Man. I'm glad they gave me the ball first, so now I can take it easy on my mans. Background music. Hey, I figured it out with this background music. Tripping. I be having it too loud. So, but it's good to be in here. We just gonna be taking it easy today. That's all we doing. We ain't doing nothing too strenuous. So let me get our motivation started. Hold on, let me block this shot. Look at that. All right, let's get our motivation started.
Meet Sidekick, the smart family assistant by Skylight that converts emails, PDFs, and photos into events, so the whole family knows the plan.
Alright, let's go.
How much longer are you gonna wait? How much longer? You gonna wait another 30 seconds? You gonna wait another minute? Gonna wait another hour? Maybe we'll start in a couple hours. You know what? How about I just wait till tomorrow? You gonna wait till tomorrow? You gonna wait another week? You gonna wait another month? How much longer are you gonna wait?
All great people start. They start anywhere, at any place, and at any time. They start whether they're hurting, they start whether they're excited. It does not matter where they are, they just start.
Just start. Just do the work. You just go, and procrastination dies. If you can't control your own brain, and your brain controls you, you're fucked.
You have to train your brain by doing things that make you uncomfortable consistently to build this mindset that when things get hard, which they will be, we don't shy away, we don't quit, we attack. I'm seeing through all those walls. I'm getting to where I want to go.
See, I've learned everybody on the face of this planet, they want something. Everybody that comes into this world, they want something. Everybody wants greatness, everybody wants excellence. But the question is, what are you willing to go through in order to get it? What type of dedication? What type of commitment? What type of sacrifice?
I tell people all the time, if this is not your vision, if you don't see this as part of your real contribution, if it doesn't make you fully live and express, and it's your real goals, bail. Quit sooner than later. But if you know it's right for you, then resilience is everything. The ability to be resilient toward your dreams, to keep marching on, win the struggle, the trial, the chaos, the frustration, the hurt, the anger, the disappointment, the shame, the regret, the embarrassment. When all that is there and you keep marching on, you know you'll be a successful person. It's the ability to be optimistic enough to know this too shall pass. This time shall change. I will find a way. I will honor my truth and keep pursuing my dreams. Thick and thin, storm or night, I will maintain my march.
Mental toughness says, not only do I climb that doggone mountain, I enjoy climbing the mountain. I get a kick out the mountain. I get a kick out the weights.
I get a kick out of going up against the #1 team. I get a kick out of fatigue. I get a kick out of the grind. I get a kick out of it. I hope that you understand that every single person that you look at, every single person that you admire, every single person that you aspire to be like is literally just a regular human being like you that has worked their motherfucking ass off. Now, it's going to be hard.
Let's go.
Understand that. It's going to be very hard. But you ain't got nothing else to do. Because let me tell you something about being not successful. Being not successful, that's really hard. So you might as well apply yourself to something that has a benefit. And what some of you doing wrong, you play the game, but you not the game. You play football, but you not football. You got to go all in. You take advantage of this opportunity. You let everything else go. You eat different. You study different. You practice different.
That is something that is built and ingrained into a successful person, not because they were lucky with it, not because they grew up with it, because they developed it. By doing it once, they did it again, they did it again, they did it again. The more bold and courageous you are, the more bold and courageous you'll be in the future. The more you overcome yesterday's struggles today, the more you'll be able to overcome the bigger struggles tomorrow.
You have to suffer. You have to make that a tattoo on your fucking brain. So when that hard time comes again, you don't forget it. You have to struggle. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the peace.
Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
You have to attack. You have to keep attacking. The enemy has to know he is not going to give up. You must break the soul or whatever the fuck is in front of you. If you keep on attacking something, nothing wants to stand in front of anything that is relentless. But you have to have the will, the heart, the courage to go that distance when you're exactly jacked up. You have nothing left to give and give more.
What gets you out of bed? What gets you off the couch? What gets you in the gym? It's not your alarm. It's not your parents. It's not your friends. It's you. The only one that can make it happen for you is you.
No one's coming. No one's coming to lift the weights for you. No one's coming to study for you. No one's coming to do the work for you. No one's coming to do any of that for you. You got to do it all yourself.
If you're gonna get it done, it's up to you to make it happen.
Today you have a choice to make. Are you gonna be a winner or a loser? Are you gonna sit back and chill, let things slide, take the easy way? Or are you gonna get up and grind? Are you gonna move your life forward?
Success is not given, it's earned. And you earn it every single day with the effort you put in.
There's gonna be more times you don't want to do something than you do want to. You're constantly going to have to do things that you don't want to do. When your mind starts kicking and screaming about having to do these hard things, you must take control. You've got to discipline your emotions. Get control of your feelings. By getting control of your feelings, you gain control of your life. When you do this over and over and over again, you change your brain. You become tougher. You become the one who decides what gets done and the level of success you achieve. And only those who discipline themselves are free in life. Your mind is your strongest weapon, but you must take control of it. You have to tell your brain where you want to go.
Don't give in to the easy path, the short-term gratification that's whispering in your ear. Shut that voice down. Do not listen to it. Listen to your will. Listen to your discipline. Listen to the alarm clock that's telling you to get up and get after it.
When your brain tells you to give in, you push forward. When it tells you to take the day off, you go harder. Don't allow your weak feelings to dictate where you end up in your life. You stay intensely focused on it. You fight through that fatigue. You fight through the noise, because on the other side of that is your greatness. You have to force yourself
Anything that's a break from your routine is gonna require force, and the only way you'll get it is by forcing yourself to be uncomfortable.
Get out of your head. Get out of your feelings. Your feelings are screwing you over. I don't care how you feel, and neither should you. If you listen to how you feel when it comes to what you want, you'll never get it, because you'll never feel like doing it.
As humans, we are emotional, but you've got to discipline your emotions. You've got to activate the thinker in you. You've got to decide where you want to go and don't allow your feelings to get in the way. Discipline is doing what you said you would do, long after the mood you set it in has left. You don't want to get up? You get up. You don't want to go for a run? You go for a run. You don't want to hammer on the project? You hammer on the project. Do things that suck every single day of your life, because that's how you grow.
Discipline is the path to freedom. Discipline is the driver of daily execution. Discipline defeats the infinite excuses that hold you back. Make discipline part of your daily life, and your daily life will get better.
What do you do when no one's watching? What do you do when you know you're supposed to do something without anyone there to supervise you? Do you get it done, or do you kick back and relax? That requires discipline. It takes discipline to do the things you know you need to do when it needs to be done, when everything in you doesn't want to do it.
Little pressure equals little progress. Stop taking shortcuts. Stop taking the easy way. Go to the heat, because the sooner you go to the heat, the sooner the dream. You gotta get more intense about your life. You gotta stop being so casual. You've gotta be intentional, deliberate, and focused on what you want. Because it's every single decision we make that forms our future. We have the opportunity to chase that best version of us every second of every day. Every single day alters the direction in the course of our lives, so you cannot allow another day to slip by wasted. That's our motivation for the day, y'all. I hope y'all pumped up. I got my mans in here.
I used to spend dozens of hours
right now. Go ahead, jam that, boy. You gotta put it down now. Come on, y'all can't see the game. I got the screen not on it. I must not have my other stuff on, but it's okay. Maybe I should let y'all see this game. See if my mans can pull it out. Can win this game. Y'all enjoy this on a fun Friday. We just taking it easy anyway. We ain't so serious right now. Go ahead, NBA boy 56. You can make it. You got to be able to shoot a jump shot, though. Ah, there you go. That's my guy. He winning right now. Go ahead. I hope that motivation motivated you to do your thing, bro. Go ahead. That's my man's. Ah, yay. Get it back. Wait. Oh, yay. That's my man's right there. Good game, NBA boy 56. All right, we going to move on to our next thing for the day. We ain't too serious. We just taking it easy. I got to go use the bathroom, as a matter of fact. Look at her. She fine. Hold on. All right, here we go. Let's go.
every single week proofreading. I was constantly fixing run-on sentences, unclear syntax, and repetitive language by hand until I found Grammarly. Grammarly is the AI writing partner that helps professionals write better, faster. Maybe it's a list of creative ways to decorate your planner, or maybe it's an email delicately explaining to a coworker that you need a few more days.
Hey, psych to go. I'm gonna give you the first video. Hey, y'all, I'll be right back. I gotta use the bathroom.
Hey Psych2Goers, welcome back to our channel. Did you know that your ongoing support is what helps us make psychology and mental health more accessible to everyone? Well, it's true, and we are so grateful for all of the love that you've given us. Thank you so much. Now, let's continue. Have you ever found yourself agreeing to certain favors you thought you would never agree to? Or perhaps you found yourself in situations you swore you'd never be in, but somehow you were successfully persuaded by your friends. Your friends may have used some psychological tricks to get you to do what they want, or they're just really persuasive and nice. But now you might be thinking, what kind of psychological tricks actually work? Some of these tricks are cleverly used by teachers, psychologists, and maybe even your friends. So, here are 8 psychological tricks that actually work. Number 1, call them by their name. People love it when you talk about them. Well, most of the time. When you say someone's name mid-sentence in a conversation with them, it's a great way to grab their attention and redirect the conversation back to you or them. Have you ever noticed as a child when a teacher would say your name in the middle of a lecture? That's because when you hear your own name, it grabs your attention and pulls you back to the present. School teachers don't want their students to be distracted, so they say their students' names to bring them back to the discussion at hand. This same tactic goes for making someone notice you. While in conversation with someone you admire, try saying their name often and at the beginning or end of the question. This will grab their attention and add some charisma to your regular conversations. Number 2, hand someone something while in mid-conversation. Here's a fun trick. Let's say you really need help carrying something up to your room, but your pesky brother isn't interested in helping you. In order to get his help, try handing him the object while in mid-conversation with him. For some bizarre reason, when people are in the middle of telling a story or engaged in deep conversation, they'll generally take anything you reach out and hand them. Go ahead, try it out next time. Eating a banana? Randomly hand over your banana peel while you discuss with them the complexities of life and the stirring of the planets. They'll probably take it from you without any question. Number 3, practice the Pavlov theory by chewing gum during an exam. Believe it or not, bubblegum may just help you ace your next big exam. Oh, what? How on earth will chewing gum improve your test scores? If you really need to ace that next exam, you might wanna find a distinct flavor of gum and start chewing it during your study sessions. Then, when you finally take the exam, you'll have conditioned yourself to associate that flavor of
Now
gum with the
that sound
information you
cool
studied for the
right there.
test, and it may just
Thanks
help
for
you
that.
remember the information during the test.
Hmm.
This is a form of conditioning that started from the Pavlovian theory. According to Hassan University Online, the Pavlovian theory is learning procedure that involves pairing a stimulus with a conditioned response. In the now famous experiments that Ivan Pavlov conducted with his dogs, he demonstrated how the presence of a bowl of dog food, the stimulus, would trigger an unconditioned response, salivation, in the dogs. So next time you're studying for a test, bring out the bubble gum and get chewing. It may just earn you that A+. Number 4, try imagining you're where you wanna be in life. This is one psychological trick that can really help you if you use it correctly. Using a form of cognitive dissonance to benefit you. Try changing your mindset to the person you want to be. According to Medical News Today, cognitive dissonance is a theory in social psychology that refers to the mental conflict that occurs when a person's behaviors and beliefs do not align. But instead of experiencing that discomfort, try using cognitive dissonance to motivate change within you.
Students with ADHD
Oh,
save
come
10
on.
hours studying with this Chrome extension.
But
But
no,
we'll
by
never
all
find
means.
out about it.
If you can't get your behavior to align with your goals, try convincing your mind that you are already someone who is actively working on those goals. Let's say you have a habit of spending too much money and that you're a bit of a shopaholic. If you wanna move past this habit, try to tell yourself that you just aren't the type of person who likes shopping a lot and that it's not your thing. Changing your mindset could possibly change your actions if you really work at it. Or perhaps you're feeling a bit sad and always look at the negative in most situations. Although it is important not to suppress your emotions, try to imagine yourself as a person who always looks on the bright side, and you may be inclined to start seeing the good during your grumpy days. Try using cognitive dissonance to your advantage by imagining that you're where you want to be in life. Changing your mindset to the person you wanna be may set you on the path to actually becoming them. Number 5, ask for a big favor, then change it to a smaller one. Imagine this. You really want that adorable chinchilla you've been eyeing in the pet shop window. You pass by the pet store every day on your way home from school, and the chinchilla's just there, staring you down with his cute little beady eyes. Your birthday is coming up, and you don't have the cash to buy him for yourself. But you've already decided that you wanna name him Giblets. Well, if you wanna use a psychological trick to your advantage, try asking your parents for a dog first. Wait, what? You don't want a dog. You want
Yeah.
Giblets, the chinchilla. Yes, But if you ask your parents for a big favor first, they're bound to say no. If you change it later to a favor that is smaller, they're less inclined to deny you. In psychology, this technique is called the door in the face technique and can be used in many situations. If you desperately need 20 bucks, but you know your friend doesn't like to lend you a lot of money, try asking for 50 instead. 20 bucks seems like a lot less now in comparison. Huh? You and Giblets are now living splendidly. Number 6, ask for a favor when someone is exhausted. This is another sneaky psychological trick. Say your friend really needed to crash at your house. You're definitely busy and have spent the whole night binge watching The Office on Netflix. You just really can't let them stay the night. And you've made up your mind to tell them no. But then your friend suddenly comes knocking at your door in the middle of the night. Somehow, you've now let them in and told them they can stay the night. You gave in because you were exhausted and too tired to say no to their pleas. According to several studies, people are more likely to be influenced to do something they initially didn't want to do when they're tired. You were mentally exhausted as well as physically, and you really didn't want to be up that late arguing with your friend. You would have done anything to have the situation over with so you could get some rest. Number 7, mirror others to help you make friends. Are you having a hard time making friends at school? Without having to change anything about who you are, try mirroring the other person's movements and gestures, and they may just be more open to getting to know you. This kind of mirroring is called the chameleon effect and has been explored in further studies. If someone thinks that you're like them, they may be more willing to be your friend. So someone could be mirroring you subconsciously to lure you in and gain your trust. Or most likely, they just want to be your friend. And number 8, nod your head if you want someone to agree with you. Have you ever needed someone to agree with a pitch you were making at work? Or perhaps you really wanted to persuade someone to agree with you on a subject you just know they would understand if they opened their mind up to it. Like, okay, they just really need to watch The Office on Netflix. If they just understood this point you're making and agreed with it, they'd likely want to watch it. Try nodding while you're discussing a point you want someone to agree with. According to a 1980 study published in the Applied Psychology Journal, psychologists found that when others nod while listening to someone, they're more likely to agree with them. You may even find yourself subconsciously nodding to someone's intense story because they are too. So, what did you think of these psychological tricks? Remember, like what Uncle Bed said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
So only use these for good. And be aware that others may be using them on you too. Are you going to try any of them out? Let us know in the comments below. Please like and share this video if you found it interesting and want to share it with your friends. The studies and references.
All right.
Hey busy bees, do you ever feel like your fridge is playing hide and seek with your dinner? If you're tired of last minute takeout and want to make your life easier and tastier, you're in the right place. Let's dive into meal prepping that's quick, fun, and way more exciting than you'd think. Welcome back to ZenFit Journey. Today, we're not just talking about meal prepping. We're going to turn it into an art form. Forget boring chicken and rice. We're talking colorful, creative meals that'll have you looking forward to lunch every single day. Plus, I'm going to share some tips that'll make you wonder how you ever lived without them. Ready? Let's get cooking! Okay, real talk. My first attempt at meal prepping was a disaster. I made a giant batch of something that tasted like cardboard by day 3. But hey, we live and learn, right? Now, I've turned meal prep into a game of how can I make this more fun and delicious. And trust me, I found some gems that are going to change your meal prep game forever. Let's kick things off with bento box lunches with a twist. Think of it like a lunchbox that's also a treasure chest. One section has colorful quinoa salad with roasted veggies. Another has a fun surprise like sushi-style rolls or a mini fruit salad. It's like opening a new present every day, except you get to eat it. Next up, mason jar salads. I know what you're thinking, salad in a jar? But here's the magic. Start with the dressing at the bottom, then layer your crunchy veggies, proteins, and greens on top. When you're ready to eat, just shake it up and boom. Perfectly dressed salad that's fresh and crisp. It's like a salad shake, but way cooler. And for breakfast lovers, overnight oats with a surprise. These are my secret weapon. Imagine waking up to a jar of oats that tastes like dessert, but is packed with nutrition. One day, it's strawberries and cream. The next, it's chocolate banana. Each day is a delicious adventure. All right, let's speed things up because we're all about saving time here. Tip number 1, turn your kitchen into a veggie prep station right after grocery shopping. Seriously, wash, chop, and store those veggies like you're running a restaurant. Not only does it save time, but you'll also feel like a pro chef every time you reach for them. Next, let's talk batch cooking proteins. Cook up a big batch of something versatile, like grilled chicken, baked tofu, or roasted chickpeas. Store them in the fridge, and you've got the base for multiple meals ready to go. It's like having your very own meal prep fairy. Oh, and themed days. Taco Tuesday, anyone? I mean, who can resist tacos? It's like a weekly fiesta. Plus, it makes planning your meals as easy as pie. Or should I say, as easy as tacos. Now, let's talk about leveling up your meals with some nutrition boosters. Ever heard of superfood sprinkles? No, not the sugary kind. Chia seeds, flax seeds, and nuts. They add a crunch and a punch of omega-3s to your meals. Just sprinkle them on your oats, salads, or even your yogurt. And here's a sneaky trick: blending veggies into sauces or soups. It's like a ninja move for picky eaters or anyone who wants to up their veggie intake without even noticing. Blend some spinach into your pasta sauce. Trust me, it's a green game changer. Now for the fun part, highlighting some of the most surprising moments in meal prep. Like that time I used sweet potato slices as mini pizza crusts. Yes, pizza lovers, you can have your pizza and eat it too, guilt-free. Or when I discovered that prepping an entire week's worth of breakfasts in under 10 minutes is totally doable. Who knew meal prepping could be so satisfying? I want to hear from you. What's the wildest or most fun meal prep idea you've tried? Drop it in the comments below. And if you've got a hack that saves time or adds a twist, share it with us. Let's keep the good vibes and ideas.
Shut up, lady. It wasn't over yet, huh? Gotcha. Game time. You still lost. Dang, you still lost, Griffin Jack. You gotta play better than that next time, man. Don't give up on yourself, though. See you later. Hey, y'all, look at the score. Hold on. Let me see if I can get y'all the score. Look at the score. He had like 19, well, 17. I had like 4. Come on, Griffin Jack. Come on, Griffin Jack. saw out the CD. That's hard body. Y'all can bring it. Oh yeah, I need that. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, let's get some more. One more fun hacks. That one was whack, if you ask me, because they ain't had nobody saying.
Placing your first options trade? You've come to the right place. With real-time insights from.
Hello there. Last week I hit a milestone, which honestly just it boggles my brain when I think about it because we hit one.
All right, project team.
Moving on to our next project, I called this one Floral Globe Decor. Not sure why, because it is more so a fun paperweight or just a cute little shelf decor piece, but I went ahead and I used some resin for this project, a mold, and also some faux florals. So the first thing that I did was I actually sprayed my resin release spray into my mold, and then I pulled off a couple of these yellow roses here. I think I got these at Michael's or Joann's, but you can also get them from the dollar store for sure. So I pulled off a couple of those along with the leaves, and then you're gonna want to mix up your resin. So the resin is super simple. It is equal parts of the resin and equal parts of the hardener. Just make sure to stir each one individually for about 2 minutes each, and then mix them together and stir for about 2 minutes as well. So as you can see here, I'm just mixing it up, making sure it's nice and incorporated, and then you're gonna go ahead and mix them together. So just pour one of the cups into the other one. The resin is now going to start its process of chemical reaction, I guess you could say, and you're going to pour that into your mold there. I then placed in my flowers. You could do flowers, you could do glitter, whatever you have that is small that would kind of fit inside of this resin mold would be perfect for this project. I just opted for the flowers there. I whipped up another batch of resin, poured it over the top to ensure that everything was fully covered, and then you're gonna let this sit for probably about 24 to 48 hours, and that finishes off your little paperweight. I remember this piece of decor like it was yesterday. This I had in my room for so many years and I loved it so much. It's a little hello framed decor piece, and all I used for this project was some yarn, a little frame, some fabric glue, and some canvas. So I first started off by taking my frame here and I glued it down to my duck canvas. Now this frame was, I believe, from Michael's at the time in their little like finished home decor section, but I got it on sale. I thought it was really cute, so I filled it with the canvas, tacked it down with a little bit of fabric glue, or you can use hot glue, and just cut away all that that excess once you feel like it is nice and adhered on there. And next what we're going to go ahead and do is use a pencil to kind of map out the word that we're going to do. I just wanted to do the word hello because I have an obsession with writing that word. I don't know why, I just absolutely love writing out the word hello. So I opted for this mustard yellow yarn because yellow is one of my favorite colors, and I used a little bit of hot glue to adhere down the yarn in the loopy cursive font that I chose, which was my own handwriting. I don't know where I was going with that, but I went ahead and I glued it down in this nice little cursive font, and I just love the way it turned out. It just made me happy glued it down, which was my own handwriting. I don't know where I was going with that, but I went ahead and I glued it down in this nice little cursive font, and I just love the way it turned out. It just made me happy every single day I looked at this piece, and you can again totally customize this to have whatever word you want on the inside. It turned out really cute. Here we have another IKEA hack for you guys. This was again one of my first ever IKEA hacks on this channel, and I went ahead and I got 3 of these scarf hangers here. And the thing I loved about these scarf hangers is that they actually had like this crocheted edging on them, which I think added so much detail. And I know that IKEA currently does sell these as well, but what I wanted to start off by doing was actually cutting off the little top hanger portion, and every single piece on this is just stitched together with a little bit of thread, so it's very easy to snip that thread and kind of detach the rings if you need to. But I wanted to go ahead and detach the hanging portion and then reattach with a little bit of thread all of the rings together. So I went ahead and I attached 3 sections of this scarf hanger together with a little bit of thread, just doing a couple of stitches between each of them, and you're going to be repeating this process until you have all of your scarf hangers connected. This is so super simple and easy. Just kind of catch the thread, tie it in a good knot, and that really finishes off the process. You can go ahead and hang this on the wall and decorate with some cute little clothespins or little hooks if you have them. I just use this as a cute little inspo board at the time, and I love the way that it ended up turning out. Here we have another super simple macrame project. This is definitely a beginning macrame piece if you're just kind of getting introduced to it, or you want to create a super quick and easy wall hanging. So the supplies that you're going to need is just some yarn, a pair of scissors, and a wooden dowel. So I went ahead and I cut my yarn to about 6-foot lengths of each strand. And for the start of this project, on the very left side, as you can see here, I went ahead and I actually looped 2 pieces of yarn on the start, and then every single section after that, I just did 1 piece of yarn folded in half and then looped onto our wooden dowel. So moving on from there, you're going to be creating, again, more square knots. This project only requires square knots, so it is very, very simple. A square knot is left over right and then right over left, and you're going to be doing this all the way down with the neighboring strand. So you're going to be grabbing a strand from one side, the strand from the neighboring one, and tying them together, and it's going to cascade downwards into a triangle shape until you reach the very end. So I went ahead and just repeated the process all the way down. You can actually go in and swap colors if you'd like to, and I also think it would be fun to go in with macrame cording instead of yarn to use the macrame cord as the base of the project. And then once I was done, I went ahead and I hung it on the wall, and I used a pair of scissors to just trim away the excess yarn into an arrow shape. I feel like this really gives this piece a little bit more shape and overall a little bit more interest.
Wow, and it's so simple. So now I ain't gonna lie. I was just clicking something, and when I went to this video, and I don't know if y'all can see me on the camera. Let me look. If y'all can see me on the camera, I'm like trying to play the game and looking back and left and right, and I'm looking over at what he did, and I saw the hello. First I saw the hello, like, oh, bro, that look good. You can hang that up. You know what I'm saying? And you doing that yourself with just the materials that you got. And then now with this one, this piece that he got right here, that's actually good. Just simple.
A little bit more shape and overall a little bit more interest.
A little bit of thread, you know what I'm saying? And one little bamboo stick.
A little bit more interest.
Of course, you got to know how to weave it together, like you said. It's nice. I like that.
Back to the dollar store projects. This was what I called a memory.
I'm big on the decor. I'm big on decorating. Like, I know a bunch of friends, well, I done seen a bunch of people, let's just say, who have homes. Like, they have homes, they have apartments, they have places to live, and they don't decorate nothing. They just in there, like the crack house, just in there. Like, bruh, put some stuff on the wall. Like, go print out some pictures, get some carpet and put it down, or don't just get some rack and hang it in the corner for a second, and that's it. Get some decorate, make your place, like fill it with you. And I don't be seeing that. Like I remember I had my place and I was like, yo, look at the wall. Like this is just a blank wall. This is gonna be like this forever, right? No. But yeah, I'm big on decoration.
Mobile, and I created this for $2.50. Now that silver thing looks a little odd, and that is because it is a Let's Create.
Let's see how it turned out.
Mementos here, and just at the top there, which is going to be our hanger. You can clip all of your memories or mementos here, and it just creates a fun little mobile.
Right. I like it now. Yes. Hey.
Here we have a super affordable take on a mixed metal wall hanging. So this is a moon phase wall garland, and what I used for this was some chipboard, some spray paint, some chain, some wire cutter.
He spends the time with himself. Like, imagine that. Imagine you living all your life, and you never take the time to spend time with yourself. So he's spending time with himself too. What? Building? Hey, dog, I can build that. What you get? Give me 2 paper clips, a cup, and some string, and we got a phone. I'll talk to you later.
And that was pretty much all for the project.
Yes,
so I started off by spraying my chipboard or my thick kind of heavyweight cardstock with some copper spray paint, and then I went ahead and I cut apart a lot of these pieces of silver chain. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and use copper chain as well, but I wanted to go in with silver chain and kind of have that mixed metal look. I really love that when it comes to minimalistic wall art. I think it adds a lot of detail and interest. So I went ahead and I cut those apart, and I actually just hot glued those on to the chain, which I would never do nowadays. I would definitely use a jump ring if I was to recreate this project, but I think back then I didn't have jump rings, and honestly this was going to be a super lightweight project in the end, so I knew the hot glue was going to hold for sure. And I think the varying lengths of silver chain across this piece kind of give a lot of detail. If you had everything at the same level, it honestly in the end would kind of just look a little bit boring, so I love mixing up the lengths of chain for those vertical sections to make sure that the moons are kind of hanging at different levels once you actually hang it up on the wall. And this is what the chain base is going to look like, and the next step is going to be cutting out some moon shapes. So you can totally print out some shapes if you'd like to, or you could freehand them like I did. I just kind of penciled them onto a piece of paper, cut them out. I love the organic look of it, and I just glued them on with some hot glue, and that finished off your wall hanging. I personally love a good hanging planter, and I also love concrete, so this project is basically the best of both worlds for me. So I started off by mixing up my concrete mix with a little bit of water here. You're going to want this to kind of basically be the consistency of like a pancake batter. As you can see here, this one is a little bit thicker, but that totally works as well. And the mold that I'm going to be using is actually just a simple little, I guess, clear solo cup. And then in the middle there, I'm applying a Dixie cup, and I'm pressing it down on the inside. Next, what I'm doing is grabbing some hemp cording or whatever string you want the hanging planter to be hanging from, and you're going to tie knots onto the ends of them. The knots are basically going to be like extra support, so once we press this down into the concrete, the knot is kind of going to be covered in cement and allow it to not be pulled out. If it's just a string, you could imagine kind of being able to pull the string right out, but that knot is just like an extra reinforcement. So you're going to want to go ahead and let that dry overnight or until it is nice and cured, and then pull off your plastic cup in the end and remove the Dixie cup on the inside. Now you can go ahead with a sand file or whatever you have, some sandpaper, a nail file. I mix those words together to make sand file to sand away any excess concrete. Tie your strings into a loop at the top, and that finishes off your concrete planter. Now this next project is actually one that was
I actually like that one too.
At the top, and that finishes off your concrete planter.
This actually looked good.
Now this next project is actually one that was inspired by anthropology. I bought a wall hook a while back, and so many people were like, can you please like recreate this on your channel? And so I did. I basically found this wooden wall hook blank from Michael's or Joann's, some craft store, and I ended up spraying it with my brass spray paint, so it had the similar brass look to the anthropology piece. And then I went ahead and Googled the constellation for Leo. That is what I personally am, but you can totally change this up for your own star sign. I just did Leo for myself, and then I went in with a little bit of black acrylic paint and just dotted this on wherever the stars were in that constellation. And then I connected them with some lines and just kind of cursively wrote Leo at the bottom. I guess it's kind of lucky that I'm a Leo because I didn't have to write that much. And then around the edge, I went ahead and I just did a little dotted kind of pattern just to add a little bit more detail, and that finishes off your wall hook.
Make One for the family. Each for the family.
This brass mirror here is one of my favorite DIYs I've ever created. I've actually done a couple different versions of it on my channel throughout the years, and it's just such a fun project to create. So all you're gonna need for this is actually some artificial flowers and a mirror of choice. So these artificial flowers are just from a craft shop. You can get them at the Dollar Tree or Joann's, Michael's, wherever you want to get them from. And I just went ahead and started by giving them a good dousing of brass spray paint. And this is actually going to just be our first layer of spray paint, kind of just give an overall coat of that brass color. And next what you're going to want to do is actually kind of find the placement on your mirror for these pieces and use some heavy duty hot glue to glue and adhere them down to your mirror. So once you have them all glued and adhered down, this is where we're going to go in with our brass spray paint once again, making sure to cover up any of the mirror sections and really thoroughly coat those pieces in that brass spray paint to give it a full-on finished look. And of course we're going to need something to hang this up with, so I didn't want to use this white yarn here, so I just actually sprayed it with the gold spray paint and it ended up looking great in the end. I adhered it on the back side of our mirror and that finishes it off.
Look at that. Look at how that look. Ain't nobody gonna keep using the words
I'm sure we all
finishes
it off.
Professional just seemed to mean you've been doing it long.
I'm sure we've all seen these mesh trash bins at the dollar store, at Walmart, at Target, wherever it might be, but they're always not the cutest. So I want to share with you guys how you can add just a little bit of faux leather to this piece to make it more rustic and overall just cuter in the end. So the first thing that I did was I went ahead and I marked 3-inch wide sections and then drew a line to create a 3-inch wide strip that I could then cut with my scissors, because we are going to then go ahead and fold over those raw edges into the middle. So we're going to be ending up with a 1.5-inch wide strip of this leather material. So you're going to want to do this that way you have nice clean edges on the front there, and then on the front side of your wastebasket, using a generous amount of hot glue, you're going to be applying your faux leather material and then creating kind of a little loopy handle at the top, which again is just for visual interest. There's no like rhyme or reason to this piece. And then I cut off the excess at the bottom there and went in with a little bit of white embroidery floss. I probably should have done this with like some jute cording or something just to match the vibe a little bit better, but I think it turned out cute nonetheless. So I went in and I just added a little X shape to secure the letter in place a little bit more, but also add a bit of detail to that edge there. I think this adds a nice touch. Tie it off on the back side, repeat on the opposite side, and that finishes off this basket. This chunky tassel blanket is one of my favorite throw blankets I've ever created. I actually still own it to this date and style it all the time throughout my apartment. So I started off with this blanket base, which was actually from Target, and then I went ahead and I grabbed a couple of yarns that I thought that kind of complemented the blanket, and I cut them into 12-inch long sections. And you're going to want a ton of these to create a ton of different tassels along your piece. So I'm using a really chunky wide crochet hook to go through the knitted section of this blanket, and I'm going to then go ahead, fold my yarn in half, and pull it through the loop that we created with our crochet hook. So you're going to pull through all those strands of yarn. Once all 3 of them are pulled through, you're going to then go ahead and pull the tails through that loop, and that finishes off your first tassel. Now to determine kind of the pattern you want to go with or where you want to apply your tassels, you can map it out first if you'd like to, but I just went ahead and did chunks all around the blanket, making sure that I had kind of like an even spaced amount of chunks of different colors of yarn that just add pattern, texture, and dimension to the piece. You can also just go around the edge and do like a tasseled edge if you want to, but I just wanted to mix up the yarn, so I did a variant of white yarn. I also added in some that had these gray kind of flecks throughout it, and then in the end I just created these little tassel sections on the blanket, which just kind of give a little bit of detail. This sunburst mirror here was actually the first project I ever shared on my YouTube channel. This is my first ever DIY project that I created, and I really think it's still really cute, honestly. So I started off with an 8-inch round mirror, and I used 2 different sizes of popsicle sticks. I used these longer, kind of skinnier ones, and then I also used your traditional ones as well. The first thing that I did was I went around the bottom lip or bottom edge of our piece with the longer, skinnier popsicle sticks and hot glued them into place where I wanted them to go. And once you have them all glued down, it's gonna look something like this. this, but as you can see, it just kind of seems a little bit boring. So in between each of the popsicle sticks, I actually glued a vertical popsicle stick, so it was kind of sticking upwards, which just adds dimension to the piece. I feel like every one of these voiceovers, I'm like, it adds dimension, it adds texture, but it really does. Like, I think this adds a nice bit of visual detail. So I went ahead and I added a vertical popsicle stick just glued in between all of our longer sticks. This also kind of gives a height variance. So as you can see, the first layer of sticks is a bit longer than the second layer, which I love. And then on the back side, I just glued down a little ring of macrame cording to hang it up on the wall, and that finishes off your new sunburst mirror.
What? Yes.
Creating a concrete coaster set is actually extremely affordable and not as hard as it looks. All you're going to need is a couple of solo cups, some concrete, more inches since it is.
Planning to move? Join the 6 million families who discovered a smarter, more flexible way to move with Pods.
Is 14 inches and about 6 inches tall. So I glued and adhered together 2 pieces of chipboard and just added a little bit of additional glue on the backside to make sure it was nice and secured. But essentially this is actually going to be fully wrapped in this yarn material, so there is no reason for it to be like extra strong or anything, as it will be glued down to the mirror once it is done. So all I did for this next process was just literally wrapped the entire piece in this burgundy toned yarn, and I went ahead and I set aside our yarn section and I grabbed this gold washi tape from my stash, and I'm going to be wrapping this around the entire exterior of the mirror on the front side to almost make it look like there's a welded gold frame on the outside of this mirror. It just adds a little bit more detail in my opinion, so I added that on. And then towards the bottom half, I didn't add it because I knew that I was going to be covering it with our little yarn wrapped section here. So that is exactly what I did. I placed down our little yarn wrap section, and then I also went in and added this little wood strip which I had in my stash onto the top there. So I cut that off and I adhered it down with some Fabri-Tac adhesive, coated it in that same exact gold finish tape, and then glued it right at the top there, and that finished off our little wall mirror. You can add a hook on the back side if you want to hang it up, just like I did with a little bit of macrame cord, and that finished off this project. This next project blew up on TikTok, and I knew I wanted to recreate it here on my channel, so I actually grabbed 2 different gallons of soda. This was actually just ginger ale gallons, and I went ahead and I cut the tops off with an X-Acto knife, and I grabbed this fairy light pack. Now, this fairy light pack was from Amazon, and if you plan on running this all the time, I do suggest getting one that plugs directly into the wall as opposed to a battery operated one, which you're gonna kind of have to hide the cord down the wall if necessary. So what I ended up doing was just using the battery powered one. I'm just gonna use this on more special occasions. So I went ahead and I glued the battery pack on the inside and glued the 2 pieces together, and then I added a string which is going to be used for hanging it up. I suggest gluing down the string first rather than adding the polyfill, because the string honestly is kind of hard to find once you add all of that polyfill, so make sure to add your string first and then go ahead and just apply clumps of this polyfill material, which is essentially what you use to like stuff a doll or stuff a stuffed animal with, or a pillow. I just glued this on around the outside. And a little tip for you guys that I learned from somebody who actually creates these is to use hairspray to make sure that your polyfill stays together. So you can spray hairspray on it as if it's actual hair, and it will kind of make it stay together a bit more. This is a really cute way how to make your very own Polaroid magnets for your fridge or any surface that you can add magnets to. So the first thing that I did was I actually went into my Photoshop application and I found a Polaroid image on Google, and I just duplicated it 8 times, and then I went to Pinterest and found a couple of images and just screenshot them into square shapes, just images that I personally liked. And I also did one of myself just to show you guys the different variations you can go for. I popped the images on the inside of each of the Polaroids there, and I printed it out as shown. And next what you're going to want to do is just cut them out using an X-Acto knife. So I just cut around all of the edges, making sure that each of my little Polaroids was its own image, and just kind of making sure to cleanly cut each of the Polaroid pieces, because we are going to be adding these onto a foam sheet next, which is kind of going to elevate them and just make them a bit more substantial. So I went ahead and I cut down different foam squares for each of our little magnets, and I glued on top of it our printed out piece of paper, and that really finishes off the base of our magnet. Super simple and very, very easy. The last step in creating these magnets is just to apply a little magnet on the back side. I just use these little circle ones from the craft store, and you can hang these up on your fridge or wherever you'd like. Here is another anthropology-inspired project that I saw online. It was about $60 to $100 per piece, so I picked up this woven placemat at Target for just under $5 and used a little bit of macrame cord, and I cut them into 6-inch strips and used a crochet hook to weave them on the outside of the entire ring of this placemat. This is just a very repetitive process of looping through our macrame cording around the entire exterior of this piece, trimming it once you're completely done, and then what you're going to actually do is unravel the entire strand of macrame cording. It's kind of like a rope, so it is pretty easy to go in there and kind of unravel it a little bit, and then you get the individual fibers, which I used a little pair of tweezers to just kind of brush out. And once you're completely done with that, you can again spray some hairspray on these if you want them to stand up a little bit more straight, add a loop on the backside to hang it on the wall, and that finishes off this wall decor. This is a super easy hack to make your very own sea glass vessels. So I got a couple of glass vases from the dollar store, and I'm going to be mixing some Elmer's glue with just some basic food coloring to create basically a colored Elmer's glue. And all you have to do from here on out is actually just paint this on the exterior of your glass vessel. And once it dries down, it's going to end up being such a pretty matte color. So I ended up applying just a decent amount of glue and then adding in a couple drops of food coloring. Do keep in mind that it's going to be pretty translucent, but once it dries, you're really going to be able to see that color. For this first one here, I just did a nice minty green shade, and for our second one, I added some more Elmer's glue into a Dixie cup, and I just went ahead and I did a blue sea glass, which I love the way that this one turned out. I went ahead and I applied a nice coat on the outside of our vessel, and then you're just gonna let them dry, and once they are dry, they look super cute like this. Back with another IKEA hacks, I'm going to be using this basket, which is the Sniddad basket from IKEA, and I'm going to also be using the Hema light cord. So the additional supplies are just a wire cutter and some hemp cord. So the first thing I wanted to do on this basket was actually remove the handles because I want to turn it into a pendant light as opposed to a basket. So I just cut off these little raffia strands on the side there, pulled out the handle, which was just kind of nail gunned in. And once you have both of those handles removed, we're going to be flipping it over so that way we can create an opening on the bottom for our light cord. So I just went ahead and I actually cut diagonal across from each other out some of those little sections. So I went ahead and I cut this one out, I cut a little bit higher than that, and then directly across from that I did the same exact method of cutting them out. So I had two open holes here that I was then able to string my light cord through and kind of tie it onto that middle intersection and allow my light to hang in the middle and also me hang it from the ceiling there. So I just dropped through my light cord, wrapped it around, tied it on the inside there, as you can see, in just a simple little knot, and then I strung it back out the top. That way I was able to hang it up. Just insert your light bulb and that finishes off this pendant light.
Get y'all ass off my court. Hey, get y'all ass off my court. And don't come around here with that bullshit no more. Get off of here. I ain't heard nothing you said, but get off of here. Now I'ma listen. Get the hell out of here. We just ran it up. We proved that y'all not good enough. Get out of here. Go play somebody else. Good job. Good game,
when it comes
though.
to shelf styling, I love these kind of geometric brass or just metal objects. I think they're so much fun. So I ended up creating my very own using these wind twisters from the dollar store. This is what they look like originally. They are so ugly, but I actually glued a couple of them together to start, and I used a wooden dowel as kind of the base for our little structure. So I'm going to be sticking that through, applying some hot glue, and just hot gluing down our wind twister onto it. But do not worry, we are not going to be leaving this rainbow. We're actually going to transfer it outside and spray the entire thing with a brass or whatever color spray paint you want to put on there. I ended up opting for brass just because I feel like it gave it a very kind of unique and cohesive look. And then of course we needed to create a base for our sculpture. So I got this little wood cube at Michael's, and I'm going to be covering it with some marble contact paper just to make it look a little bit more luxury and high end. And I just kind of did this how you would a present. I just cut off different edges and made sure it was nice and flush. Created another one just matte black box to give you guys options so you can kind of see what it would look like. And once I had both of my box pedestal bases, I just drilled a hole down the center of them, which I could then go in and apply the stick with a little bit of hot glue so that our sculptures can stand up. So I piped in a decent amount of hot glue, pressed my stick on the inside, just made sure it was standing upright, and do not worry about this at all. It is super lightweight, so it's not going to topple over, and that finishes off our brass sculptural objects.
That's hard body. Like, those look
this at all. It is super lightweight, so it's not going to topple over, and that finishes off our brass sculptural objects. If you're into geometric shapes and 3D art, this one is perfect for you. So I basically went ahead and I grabbed these little wooden dowels here that I got at Michael's, and I'm going to be creating some pyramids out of these. So I actually, again, work on parchment paper for these kinds of projects. That way I can easily peel them off once I am done. So I believe that I ended up creating about 7 of these pyramid shapes, and I'm going to be painting 3 of them pink because we are also going to be going onto our canvas and taping off a diagonal section, which we are also going to be painting that same exact pink color. So on the smaller side, we're going to be painting the pink side and adding 3 of our little pyramids that we also painted pink onto that side. On the opposite side, we're going to be adding just our wood pyramids just opposite that, and that really finishes off this art piece. It's super simple, but also very fun. When the moon mirror became popular on TikTok, one of the most requested projects I created was this moon mirror. So I figured I'd go out and grab a circular shaped mirror, some joint compound, and get to work. So basically for this project, what you're going to want to do is kind of map out where you want your moon shape to be on the right side of your mirror there, and spread a decently thick amount of joint compound on that section. I probably did a 1/4 inch, but you can vary it and make it thicker in some sections. I believe that also gives it a little bit more texture. And next, what you could see me doing is actually going in with a sea sponge, and I'm going to go ahead and just create some nice texture throughout the area. And lastly, you're going to want to go in with a squirt bottle and just spray vigorously in spots to create craters in your moon. I used some paper towels to just absorb any excess water and went back in with my spatula just to smooth out some sections and add some more joint compound to other sections to kind of create an elevated look. You're going to want to let this dry overnight, and as the joint compound dries, it actually cracks a little bit, which I think gives even more texture and dimension to the moon shape. So what I'm going to be doing next is mixing up a little bit of brown acrylic paint with some white to create kind of an off-whitish color, which I'm going to go ahead and paint my entire moon shape with just to give it a full coat of one solid color. And then I'm also going back in with a little bit of diluted brown and just some other whites and spray paints, whatever I want to add in here just to kind of add texture, and that finishes off your moon mirror. This next project is actually one of the most current projects that I posted on my channel. It is how I took this Ivar shelf side unit and turned it into a blanket ladder. So basically on the inside of the shelf unit, you can see that there are a ton of different holes which allow you to adjust your shelves as you'd like, but I just went ahead and every other hole I actually drilled through all the way to the opposite side because I wanted to be able to add lacing to the sides of this ladder just to give it a little bit more detail than just staining it as is. So that's exactly what I did. I also cut off the very bottom middle post, brought it outside, gave it a nice sanding to ensure that there were no splintered edges and that everything was nice and smooth, and I took out my classic black wood stain and gave it a full coat of this stain all the way around using a foam brush. You could totally apply it with whatever you'd like, a paper towel, a foam brush, and just let that dry outside for a full-on day. I especially say this for the black color because the black one seems to actually kind of bleed in some areas, so the more time you give it to dry, the better. I then grabbed some macrame cording and applied some tape to the end of them. This kind of makes a makeshift needle and just makes it a little bit easier for you to string that cording through the side there. Now, all I did on either side was just create X's on both the outside and the inside, crossing over my macrame cord as I worked my way down to the bottom, and I just really like the way that this added a nice little detail to the side. I think it would also be really cute with some leather cording, and that finishes off your blanket ladder.
That's hard body too, see?
For our next project, we're jumping into something a little bit more intermediate when it comes to macrame. I know some of the earlier projects were a bit more simple, but what I'm going to start off by doing is just cutting some long strands, 6-foot strands, and you're going to need 8 of them. I then went ahead and tied all 8 strands into a knot, and this is going to be our very bottom section, so I suggest that you kind of separate them in sections of 2 and create a plus sign with your macrame cord. Now, what you're going to start off by doing is creating a sequence of square knots once again, which is just right over left and then left over right. That's how you create a simple square knot, and I just made these probably about 2 inches from our base section. So we kind of have this little flower shape. Then grabbing neighboring strands, you're going to do the same exact thing, creating a square knot with 2 neighboring strands about the same distance that you created with your first ones from the center knot, and just make sure that they're as even as possible. This will just make your macrame look a lot better in the end. I placed my bowl on top to get an idea of how much more I would need to macrame upwards, and for this next section, I probably went up about 6 inches and created another square knot here. So as you can see, applying my next round of square knots, and then we're going to be doing a little bit of macrame, which is basically just constant right over left, left over right to create these little sections, and that finishes off your macrame planter.
You got good ideas. I'm gonna let him keep playing.
Now this project was a really fun texture that I kind of recreated using some of this lightweight spackle from the dollar store. I also used this glass vessel as well, also from the dollar store. But basically, I scooped out this spackling material, and it almost has this like moon sand.
Ain't you told me to guard my man? You gotta guard your man.
And kind of a feeling to it. It feels almost like clay, but it's not too wet, but it's also dry. It just has a very odd texture. So I figured, why don't I try going ahead and applying this to the entire exterior of one of these glass vases and creating almost like a stone finish vase. And this piece only cost me around $3 to create. I used 2 full canisters of that spackling mixture. I also went ahead and applied it on the inside top rim. Once it dries down, it looks like this.
Looks like you're getting a $3,200 refund.
Did she mention that at H&R Block, everyone gets their max refund or their money back?
And we always guarantee
100% accuracy on every return.
You had me at max refund.
Switch to H&R Block.
Tiled furniture has been super popular across TikTok and social media lately, but I wanted to downsize it for people that maybe are a little bit intimidated to create their own furniture.
Y'all should have left then. Y'all cussed everybody out anyway. Y'all was cussing me out before I was doing that. Learn to like just be okay with it, man. It's okay. It's okay. Y'all called me a shitter. He called me a shitter. Fuck you, bitch. Called me a shitter. He called me a shitter.
Piece, so we are going to be creating some tile coasters. I got these 2x2 square tiles from a shop in Los Angeles called Floor & Decor, and I cut them out into 2x2 sections to create a small little coaster, and I went ahead and adhered them to a piece of cork board just because I felt like the cork would be a nice material to kind of sit on top of any tabletop and the tile will not scratch it. So I adhered those down first on all of my coasters and went ahead and make sure that they were nicely attached and then cut them out using an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors. I brought out some acrylic paint just to see how this would work on top of the tiles, and I can tell you guys it worked perfectly. All I did was 2 to 3 even coats of this acrylic paint on top of the tiles and also on the sides there. So this is my second coat that I'm applying on, using my heat tool to dry it down. And then what I actually did was went in with a Mod Podge hard coat and did 2 full coats of this hard coat across the entire top and sides of our coaster. This makes it water and weather resistant. And then I brought out my grout, which I've used in a lot of different projects that I've done tiling in the past. This is just a nice warm gray grout, so I applied it with my finger into the grout lines, just kind of evenly dispersing it, wiping away any of the excess, and then what I did in the end was I actually used a little bit of caulking and I just applied it to the sides to give it a nice clean finish, and that finishes off these coasters. Now here is another project using a joint compound. I'm going to be using a canvas and also a spatula and a couple of acrylic paints. So essentially we are going to be mixing up, and I think this is such an aesthetic. And another I just applied it to the sides to give it a nice clean finish, and that finishes off these coasters. Now here is another project using a joint compound. I'm going to be using a canvas and also a spatula and a couple of acrylic paints. So essentially we are going to be mixing up, and I think this is such an aesthetically pleasing project. It just is so nice to watch it be done. I mixed up some paint with some joint compound to create a very thick kind of essentially paint that I then went ahead and spatulaed onto a canvas. So I kind of wanted to do a variation of colors. There was no rhyme or reason to this, but I think it would be really cute if you had an accent color in your space to do like an ombre. So making it the darkest shade it could be to start, and then kind of working your way towards a lighter shade as you go on. So I just did a kind of variance of different colors, some soft yellows, oranges, pale greens, a little bit of pink, and then just a natural joint compound at the bottom there. You're going to want to let this dry, and once it has dried, you have a cute little decor piece. I think this next project is one of my favorite pillow DIYs that I've done on this channel. I think it just turned out so cute. I basically ended up using some of this wool roving yarn and cutting them into 3 strip sections because I'm going to be ending up braiding them and turning them into little pieces that we're going to be decorating on top of the pillow. So I started off by tying a knot and leaving just a little bit of a tail on there because we're actually going to be using that as a tassel in the future. And I'm just going ahead and doing a simple braid down this entire section here. Now you're going to need 6 pieces that are 14 inches braided length, and then you're going to need 2 sections that are 4-foot braided length. So once you have all of your strands created here, you're going to go ahead and start decorating your pillow. I'm going to be using Fabri-Tac adhesive, which is a fabric glue that works really great, and kind of following this pillow that I found on Wayfair, but it was $120, and I was like, we can easily create this for way less. I think this project ended up costing around $15 to create, and I used my Fabri-Tac to adhere down my little strips along the front of the pillow. Once I reached the end as well, I went ahead and I just tied them in a knot. That way I kind of had a little bit of a tassel hanging off the side of the pillow, and as you can see here, I'm cutting those tassel edges, and that really finishes off this pillow. It turned out so freaking cute in the end, and I think this is a really fun project. Here is a super simple DIY for a really cute kind of photo holder or Polaroid holder. All I did was I grabbed some white and black clay that I'm going to be using to create the little holders themselves. So I started off by just working the clay in my hands, making it a little bit warm, and kind of forming it into a pyramid shape using some dental floss to create a line down the center. That little dental floss line that we created is going to be able to hold your photo. You can kind of slip it in that line once it is baked. I also went ahead and used some black clay because I wanted to create almost a marbled looking one. So I mixed together a little bit of black, or I guess a lot of black, and a little bit of white to create more of a black based marble pattern. So I twisted it up, kind of molded it into the shape that I wanted it to be in, used my dental floss to again cut a line and just create the nice edges on that pyramid shape there, popped them on a cookie sheet and just baked them in the oven for about 20 minutes, I would say. And then once they came out, you can add any additional details you would like on there as well. So I went ahead and wrapped one of them with some washi tape and used a little bit of my brass gilding paint to go ahead and paint the top of it as brass. Allow that paint to dry, and you can slip your photos or Polaroids in these and store them on a desk or shelf.
So nice and elegant.
This next project is a shell trinket tray with a little bit of an artistic touch. So I basically went ahead and found these large shells on Amazon, and I'm going to be using the inverse of the shell to create some small trinket trays. On this first one, I'm using some black acrylic paint just to almost create like a Dalmatian spotted abstract pattern. On the second one that I'm doing here, this one's going to be a little bit more funky. I'm kind of following a retro modern pattern and using some pastel tones to map out the pattern on the inside. I'm just doing some horseshoe shapes, kind of some fish shapes, some rings, some lines, some clouds, whatever you have, you can just create them as you would like to. I also went ahead and kind of created this pink ombre shell, and then you're going to want to seal the entire piece, that way it's nice and finished off. So I'm using the same Mod Podge hard coat I used on those tile coasters, going in and just painting the hard coat on the top. I suggest doing 2 full coats of this. Once you have it dried down, you have your finished off little shell trinket trays.
That's hard body.
Whenever I would go to the dollar store, I would always see these hula hoops, and I finally picked one up and decided I'm going to be creating a DIY with this. So I ripped off the exterior pink and silver lining, and I spray painted the hoop black to start, and then I used these campfire skewers that are also from the dollar store, and I applied a little bit of wood stain to them. So using the early American wood stain, I just wanted to warm them up a little bit as they were kind of more on the yellow side, and then I used my industrial scissors to go ahead and cut these down to the lengths that I wanted them to be. These are basically going to be 2 different strips in the middle section that we are going to be applying some yarn to. So for our underside, we're going to be applying this more tan tone. So I did 2 to 3 strips per section and just kind of lark's head knotted it onto our dowel there. Moving on to the white section on top, I did the same exact thing with the white roving yarn, and I glued down the 2 different sections so that they overlaid each other, and also created this little section at the top that kind of created a triangle. And overall, I feel like it really just unified the piece as one. It kind of before just looked like I had some random yarn strands hanging there, but when I added that top piece, it really made the full section look like it was complete. I used a little bit of tape and a steamer to go ahead and steam my strands and cut them into a nice blunt cut, and that finished off our wall decor. I absolutely loved the way this wall decor piece turned out. It was so freaking cute. So I went ahead and started off by taking this little wood, balsa wood piece that I got at the craft store, and I cut it into a 2-foot long section. So using my saw, I cut that down, and then I went ahead and I cut a ton of pieces of macrame cording at the same exact length. I believe for this project, I cut them to about 4-foot long sections, but you can totally alter it as you would like to. And using some hot glue, I went ahead and started placing down my strips. Now you're going to want to figure out how many strips you want to have in your first section, because we are then going to be transferring them over to the opposite side and gluing them down. So you're firstly going to want to figure out how long that section of macrame glued down is. It was about 10 inches, so I measured in 10 inches on the opposite side, so I knew where to start gluing down, because you're going to want to basically start with your first strand that you glued down, glue that first strand down to your 10-inch marked section on the opposite side, and continue along. Once you have them all glued down, you can actually bring this over to a dye bath and give it a nice dip dye. So I started off with a light color, kind of dipping it all the way in, adding a bit more dye, dipping it partial way in, adding a little bit more dye, and then dipping it a little bit of the way in. And then once you are fully finished with this piece, you can let it dry, and that finishes off your ombre macrame wall decor.
Hey. Now I like that one the most.
Here we have another fun Lol Howls IKEA rug hack. This is using the same exact masking tape we used prior. This one is actually a little bit wider than that one, but I started off by taking a 12-inch strip and finding the exact center of the rug and placing down my 12-inch strip in a horizontal fashion. Once you have your 12-inch strip placed down, everything else just kind of comes from there. You're going to want to go ahead and place down your tape as shown here. Now, I just went ahead and made sure that every section that did not have tape was exactly 2 knots wide. That way, when we sprayed our black on there was more of the actual natural part of the rug as opposed to the black there. I wanted the black to be a little bit more just like not as present as the natural jute itself. So I went outside, sprayed it with some black spray paint so that way all those sections were covered, brought it back inside once it was dried, and pulled off all that tape to reveal your brand new rug pattern. This one ended up being a really cool kind of abstract geometric rug, and I love the way that it turned out. Black spray paint so that way all those sections were covered, brought it back inside once it was dried, and pulled off all that tape to reveal your brand new rug pattern. This one ended up being a really cool kind of abstract geometric rug, and I love the way that it turned out. This was actually a project that I created out of need for this specific piece. I really wanted a cement tissue box holder, so I decided why don't I go ahead and create my own. So I went ahead and I mixed Mod Podge with cement mix. So my reasoning behind this was I felt like if I was just go ahead and mix up the concrete as you normally would with some water, it would probably just fall right off the exterior of our tissue box holder. So I went ahead and I mixed it up with Mod Podge to kind of create more of a pasty glue material, which I was then able to brush on top of this raw wood box, which I found at Michael's craft store. So I went ahead and I started by painting a generous coat of our cement paint on the outside here. I think this is a really great technique too, because you can really give anything a nice cement coat finish, like whether it be a table lamp or something thrifted, you can actually give it a pretty decent cement coat with some Mod Podge and some cement powder. Just let it dry and you're good to go. Wow, you guys, we have made it to project 90, and this one is a really, really cute one. I ended up getting this bubble mold off of Amazon. It is basically a bubble candle mold, and I went ahead and I started off by piercing a hole in the bottom middle using an embroidery needle. That way I was able to string a wick through this area because I'm going to be melting down some of this soy wax in a double boiler method where you basically take a pot, fill it halfway up with water, and then put your wax inside of a vessel that is glass or whatever material you have. You're going to place this in the inside of the pot and melt it down as you go. So just kind of melting it down slowly and gradually until you have all of the wax melted. And I also knew that I wanted to add color to this candle and gradually until you have all of the wax melted. And I also knew that I wanted to add color to this candle. So I started off with the brown kind of oversaturated wax pellets. I found these on Amazon. They are basically just meant for coloring your wax candles. So I went ahead and I dropped a couple drops of the brown in there. And then it was time to go ahead and pour the wax into our mold. So as you can see here, I kind of created my very own mold holder with a paper cup. However, I do not suggest this because the weight of the wax inside of here actually ended up indenting the underside of that cup into our candle. So as you can see here, I went ahead and I applied a clothespin to hold the wick in place. I let the wax fully cool, but as I took this one out, I love the color, by the way. It's like a deep caramel color. As I took it out, you can see that all of the top ball edges just kind of got indented. So I ended up making a second one a little bit lighter in shade, and this one was perfect. I love the way that these candles turned out. This next project is one that you might not believe is a dollar store based project, but it really is. I got this outdoor wooden picket fence from the dollar store. It was $1.99, and then I went ahead and I used my jigsaw to cut off all of the kind of pieces that were sticking off of the middle section, so you're ending up with a piece that looks like this. I then went ahead and grabbed some sandpaper just to sand down any of those cut edges to ensure they were nice and smooth, and I brought out once again my classic black.
I have 12 emails, 30 messages, and a proposal due by 10. How am I already underwater?
I'm in the same boat.
Varathane wood stain to give this an entire coat of this classic black stain. Now, the thing I liked about this piece in particular is I think it had a finish on it, so it kind of didn't soak in some of the stain, but it allowed you to see some of that wood grain a little bit better, which I loved. So I soaked this piece of raffia cane material in water for about 20 minutes, and then I cut it down to the width of our piece. I'm going to be stapling this to the back side so that you can actually see that woven cane through the little openings on the front side. So using a staple gun, I stapled all the way across the bottom there. I then pulled it taut and stapled across the sides and across all the little middle posts as well. And then on the front side of this piece, I went ahead and I used a drill with a really small drill bit to create a pilot hole for all of our little hooks to go into. I thought this would be such a cute jewelry holder in your bedroom. I feel like it looks super elevated, or even a key holder by your front door. So once you're finished screwing in those hooks, you can just go ahead and hang this wherever you'd like to use it, and that finishes off this project.
My man's on fire. His friends.
This is a really fun kind of artistic, artsy hack on upcycling old prints that you might not like anymore, or old art in general. This is also a great way to take thrifted art and just make it look so much more interesting. So what I actually did was taking the entire art piece in the frame itself, I went ahead and I taped off a diagonal section and then taped off any area that I didn't want my spray paint to hit. I also did the smaller one here, which kind of had an emphasis on yellow in the photo. It had yellow daisies, but on this opposite one, I ended up doing a nice little cream toned paint. On the smaller one, I did a yellow glossy paint, and once you remove the actual tape from these pieces and you have a nice generous coat of the spray paint on there, you just are left with such a unique kind of abstract art piece. And I love how the frame matches the paint on the picture itself. It's just a great way to elevate any old artwork or something that you might not like anymore. For our next project, I wanted to share with you guys how to make some really cute cement or concrete planters. So I started off with some of this cement mix. Now, this is not the cement mix I currently use. This one has so many large rocks in it. I actually suggest getting the pre-sifted cement mix that comes in the tub from Lowe's or Home Depot. And what I ended up doing was just mixing this with water and turning it into the consistency that I want it to be, and then pouring it into a foam cup, which is going to be the mold for our planter. Now, pressing inside of that foam cup, I am applying a little kind of solo shot glass. which you're going to want to weigh down with a couple of rocks or heavy stones. That way it sits in the middle of your cup and allows it to dry, and this is going to be the mold base for your piece. So once it has fully dried, you could remove that inner solo cup. You have your little place that you're now going to put your plant inside of, and you can also cut away the foam cup from the exterior. I can definitely say that foam cups really create a beautiful mold for any project. It's very, very smooth in the end, and I like the finish that it gives. So sanding that top rim just to kind of give it a finished off look, you could then go in with a little bit of paint to add a detail, or just leave it as is. So on the side here, I used my silver gilding paint, and I just painted the side of this silver, making sure I had a nice straight line with my tape. You can also do it horizontally or vertically, but once you have them all taped off, these are your finished concrete planters.
No, he made them already though.
If you're in need of a boho pendant light, I have you covered with this IKEA hack. I basically ended up using 2 of these wooden bowls that you could find in the kitchen section with a large hole drill bit, because we are going to be drilling through the exact center of both of these bowls, both the large one and the small bowl. And next what you're going to want to do is go ahead and start stringing some wooden beads onto a jute cord, or whatever cord that you have that kind of matches the color tone of your bowls there. So to get our pendant shape, I'm actually going to be gluing the bowls on the outsides together. So as you can see, it's kind of creating this almost very, I guess, light shape. I feel like this is a very kind of mod light shape. And around the center section where we added the glue, I'm going to be tying on our wooden beads. That's kind of going to add our boho element to this piece. Now for our light cord, I picked up a basic light cord from IKEA, and I ended up wrapping the entire cord with our jute rope. That way it just matched the aesthetic of our pendant light to start. You're going to go ahead and glue this directly down in the center, applying a generous amount of Gorilla Hot glue. You're just going to want something very industrial strength. That way you can press this down in the center. Now on the underside, you're going to want to also apply on this piece, which kind of just finishes it off and makes it look a little bit more finished. And then pop your bulb in and you are good to go. This was my first time ever trying punch needling, and it was so much fun. I loved it. I basically used an embroidery hoop with some monk's cloth, which is the proper material you're going to be needing for punch needling. I cut away any of that excess on the outside of my embroidery hoop, and then I went ahead and started to draw out the design that I wanted to go for. So I kind of wanted something a little bit abstract, a little bit geometric. This was my first time, so I didn't want anything too complex. And using my punch needle tool, which you could find these on Amazon, you're going to string through the yarn of choice that you're going to go with, and start with the outline of your shape first. So I went ahead and did this larger half circle shape with this orange color. I did the outline and then I filled it in on the inside. Now what I can give you tip wise for punch needling is just to make sure that you punch all the way down. That's what's going to create the loop on the opposite side, and make sure that none of your rings come out as you go along. So I went ahead, I did the white middle section. I also added this little tan section, and then I did a yellow border all the way around the exterior, and then I filled in the white with the yellow as well. And then once you are finished off, you can cut away any of that excess monk's cloth on the back side, and that finishes off your wall decor piece. This next project is another super old project on my channel, one of the first DIYs that I ever created, and I wanted to create a little leaning ladder that kind of allowed you to display some of your decor or whatever you wanted to place on here. So I went to the hardware store and I got some wood cut down to the sizes featured in that first frame there, and basically I brought this outside and used nails to nail it together. Now if I was to be recreating this project currently, I would 1000% probably be using either wood glue and some screws, or just screws. I don't suggest using nails for this project, but that is how I went ahead and did it. I just went ahead and I nailed directly through the shelves on my piece along with the side there. Nailed 2 nails into each section, and I just moved my way along, placing shelves where I wanted them to go and using 2 nails to secure them into place. Super simple and easy, and I styled it like this. Neon signs are super funky and fun in home decor, however they can be pretty expensive if you need one custom made. So I wanted to share with you guys how to kind of create your very own makeshift neon sign, which I think would be a great Christmas gift for someone, or birthday present, or just piece for your own bedroom. So I started off with a large canvas and painted it the backing color that I wanted it to be. I just opted for this kind of corally pink color, and then I went ahead and got these LED strip lights, which are from Amazon. They are just basically string lights that are super malleable. You can use them however you would like to. So I punched a hole in the backside of my canvas and brought the string light out the front, and I was able to then go ahead and create the shape that I wanted to. Now, I suggest going ahead and tracing out the design you want to go with first. That way you can go ahead and just use super glue to adhere it down. And I do suggest using super glue. It holds down the LED strip in literally a matter of 1 second. And once you finish off a desired section like the word hello, you can actually pull your light strip through the back side and then have it come up through a new section if you do want more LED on the front side. So I created a little border on the bottom, and I used a little bit of my pink paint just to go in and kind of cover up any of those super glue remnants because they are a little bit glossy. I taped my battery pack on the back side, and that finishes off your DIY LED sign. Here I have another fun dollar store project for you guys. So I found these little plant pots at the dollar store. They're basically just like the pots that would essentially be used when plants are first starting out. You kind of grow them in here and transfer them into soil. So I ripped them all apart, and I'm going to be boiling them down in some water. This literally looks like beef. If you guys watch the full tutorial of this project, I talk about how it looks identical to roast beef, and that is basically what it is. But we are going to be using a mixer here to mix it up in a bowl and break down all of our paper fibers, because what we're going to be doing is creating a paper mache bowl using some joint compound and some Elmer's glue. So mixing that into our material to start, which is basically our broken down paper fibers that is all heated up, we're going to want a nice mushy material. Next, you're going to want to go ahead and find some form of mold. So I found this large IKEA bowl. I used some oil on the exterior of it and also added some cling wrap on the outside as well. That way our piece would not stick in the end and it would just nicely come off. So scooping a large dollop of our roast beef material on top, but it's really paper mache. You're going to press this on the exterior, let it dry in a place for 4 to 5 days. Now, I suggest if you want to create this project, going back and watching the full tutorial, which I'll link it below for you guys. I just went ahead and I painted this with a little bit of cream paint, some black paint. I also added some wood stain to kind of give it a vintage look, and that finished off this bowl.
Yeah, I like that. That's a bowl made out of paper. Paper bowl. Rustic paper bowl.
Project 99 is another oldie but goodie, you guys. I'm going to share with you how to create a cute little jewelry holder using some cement mix. So starting off, I'm mixing up my cement as I normally would with some water to create the consistency that I want to go for. I am then going to be pouring this about 3 inches deep into an oatmeal container. You can really use whatever you want for this project, but I found the oatmeal container worked perfectly. And as you can see, the next step is I'm going to be placing in a paper mache cone, which I'm going to press down into my cement mixture. That way, once it fully dries, it's kind of sealed on the inside of the cement and you can pull it away, and you're going to have your paper mache cone just stuck down in the middle there. Using a little bit of sandpaper, I went ahead and sanded down the edges to make sure that they were nice and clean. But this is how I created a really cute like bracelet or ring holder for your bedroom. And our last project is a very fun vase project using this pool noodle that I found at the dollar store, along with some of the lightweight spackling from the dollar store as well. I just went ahead and I actually coated the outside of this pool noodle using our lightweight spackling to almost give it a ceramic finish. I really wanted this piece to kind of give off.
Oh no, I wanted to see that last one.
Hello there. Last week, I didn't just use super down into my cement mix. I just went ahead and I actually coated the outside of this pool noodle using our lightweight spackling to almost give it a ceramic finish. I really wanted this piece to kind of give off CB2 or Urban Outfitters vase vibes that you would buy for like $150. Now, I went through so many processes of spray painting this piece. I started off with black to start, and I was honestly not a fan. So then I went in with this stone finish spray paint. I sprayed this on there, gave it a generous coat of the stone finish, and once again, I was not the biggest fan. It kind of just had this odd colorway to it, and the black wasn't fully coated. So then I brought it inside and I used some white acrylic paint mixed up with a little bit of tan acrylic paint, mixed that together, and then I fully coated my piece with this paint, and I loved the way that it turned out. It totally finished it off and made it look like a really funky retro vase. You can pop some florals on the inside, and that finishes off your vase project.
Now that one, I don't like as much. The actual like shape of it, like the pool noodle shape of it, yes, I like. But the paint probably, like he said, he couldn't get his paint down and how he wanted it to look. He probably wanted it to look stone. But anyway, let's get some wisdom in these quotes and let's get up out of here for this Friday. For real, for real.
This is how AI optimizes my schedule. This meeting got canceled. Hooray! We didn't really want to go.
Simplicity, patience, compassion. These three are your greatest treasures. Simple in actions and thoughts, you
Stop looking for happiness in the same place you lost it.
Yes, sir.
The people with the worst past can create the best future.
Right.
If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And what they have planned for you is not much.
It ain't much.
Forgiving people in silence and never speaking to them again is a form of self-care.
Yes, sir.
Don't cling to yesterday. It was beautiful, but it was yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Don't cling to yesterday. It was beautiful, but it was yesterday. Stop being so available to people who are only there for you when it's convenient for them.
Yes, sir, I will not.
There's only one thing more precious than our time, and that's who we spend it on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One day you'll laugh at how much you let this matter. Never hurt others to heal yourself.
Yes, sir.
Never hurt yourself to heal others.
Yes, sir.
Don't just love yourself. Have respect for yourself. If you don't, other people will have no problems walking all over
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir.
For yourself. Don't just love yourself. Have respect for yourself. If you don't, other people will have no problems walking all over you.
Yes, sir.
The highest reward for one's toil is not what one gets for it, but what one becomes by it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Clocks show time, and time shows people.
That boy on fire right there. That wall. Fire right
Clocks
there.
show time, and time shows people. Healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls your life. Recognizing that you are not where you want to be is a starting point to begin changing your life. Try to get what you love. Otherwise, you'll have to love what you got. Your education is never complete. Determined to live fully and continually learn. You must let the pain visit. You must allow it to teach you.
Yes, sir.
You must not allow it to overstay.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you can find paths without any obstacles, it probably leads nowhere.
Right.
Obstacles aren't roadblocks. They're road signs.
That's my guy.
Choosing comfort over discomfort does not lead to a comfortable life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unless you try to do something beyond what you have already mastered, you will never grow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's your road, and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your value is not determined by someone else's inability. to see your worth.
Yes, sir.
Problems are the price you pay for progress.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you ready to see your brand on
Yeah, I'm
TV?
ready, but
Your
shit,
competitors
get up outta
will
here,
wish
bruh.
they had known about Vibe.
Be patient and tough.
All right, y'all. We out of here for today.
Someday
this
this
is another
pain
episode of
will be
Expansion
useful
Pack.
to you.
I'm your host, Dan F. Man. Y'all get these quotes.
The trouble is, if you don't spend your life yourself,
Peace.
other people spend it for you. Being deluded and scared will make you suffocate. Being honest with yourself and responsible will make you breathe. Stand up to your obstacles and do something about them. You will find that they haven't half the strength you think they have. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Change the person in the mirror, and your world will change. You can waste your lives drawing lines, or you can live your life crossing them. You can win a lot in life just by being the last one to give up. Just because you hate this chapter doesn't mean you'll hate the book. Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. What we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. One of my biggest life lessons is we heal at the speed of our forgiveness. More important than the ability to pick the right one is the strength to walk away from the wrong one. Shallow men believe in luck. Strong men believe in cause and effect. You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. Our suffering is caused by holding on to how things might have been, should have been, could have been.